So we spend, it seems, most spend a lot of time trying to improve the self, trying to become a better someone, a more loving someone, an improved someone, a richer someone, more comfortable someone, a healed someone, an all-round better human being. And to a certain extent this has a certain kind of nobility in it, and it's as if, you know, that too is part of the journey. The self seeks to, at least if it's got any degree of integrity in it, or any degree of desire for a more successful or peaceful or more true life. I'm not talking about people who've sort of kind of fallen into the mire of society, or the craven pull of desire or greed or anything. I'm talking, you know, about people who do have an itch inside them to improve in some way. But obviously these are all endeavors of the self, the ego self ultimately, that thinks it can find its improvement through betterment, through refinement, or through some new acquisition or some new skill, or learning some self-empowerment ways, rooted in a way in the science of mind kind of idea that I've got to improve my thinking, or, you know, there's something that I lack, the skill that I lack, or some knowledge that I don't have, that if I get that knowledge, then things are going to vastly improve. I know this for myself because I spent a few years, you know, from a state of poverty consciousness, I would say, always being poor, kind of happy-ish, I guess, with being poor, and then fell into the trap. Trap's not the right word. The idea or the whole field of learning about money and how to create wealth, or how to, you know, it's hard to even remember the kind of flavor of it now. But it was like, if you do this, 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 and this, then you're going to start attracting money. Really, the early primitive sort of form of law of attraction. That the fact, you know, that I didn't have the money was just basically down to a few core essential qualities of the self that I was lacking, that if I went to enough seminars or bought this program, bought that program, that I'd get them, and I didn't. Well, I went to the programs and never got anywhere, and thought that there was a lacking in me. So where I'm going with this is that we spend a lot of time trying to improve the self until, with grace or something, we become exhausted and see the futility of it. And then we turn towards something else. And that something else is what I'm really interested in, and what I really would love to talk about, which is a profound acceptance of ourselves as we are, again and again. And how that is such a radical shift from trying to change aspects of ourselves, because we think that if we change aspects of ourselves, we're either going to be more successful, or we're going to get love, or we're going to find peace. And to see that that actually doesn't ultimately work, certainly for the spiritual seeker, it doesn't work. So all we're left with is the unknown, and all we're really left with is an ongoing deepening of a relationship with ourselves that is rooted in acceptance. That doesn't mean to say resignation. Acceptance is not resignation. There's still movement. There's not the, throwing up the hands in the air and saying, oh, well, this is who I am and this is what it is and this is what I've got and nothing will ever change, so I might as well just get on with it and accept things. This is not what's being spoken of here at all. That's the gross version of self-acceptance, but what I'm talking about is the subtle, more loving, more deep, more aware, more awake version of self-acceptance that says, I am whole, I am home, I am beautiful, I am as I am. I have a shadow, I accept it, and I love it, and I love myself deeply. And from this unified field that I seek to embrace each day, each moment, all the time, do I move in the world. I don't move in the world from the fractured sense that there's something continually missing in me. I move in the world from a deeper sense of union, unity, harmony, love, naturalness that says I am as I am. It's a kind of deep acceptance of ourselves, wounds and all. So much of our behavior, so much of our lives are driven by the seeking of the resolution of the wounds that we carry, that we've inherited through karma, through ancestry and through conditioning. Conditioning of the parents, religion, teachers, society, whatever has cast its heavy influence upon us. And so there's a movement in life that we carry through from those wounds that kind of seeks to fill the gap of those wounds, in effect to heal them. And you see how this is carries us on a momentum, on a strategy of momentum through our lives that is constantly rooted in a belief that there's something wrong with us. That the wound and the flaw suggests that there's something wrong with us. And I go back to what I've said time and time again. It's not true. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. But that I believe it. And I move in the world as though I do believe it. And so I'm constantly seeking to improve aspects of myself. And that might get us somewhere in the world. Maybe. I'm certainly not denouncing it fully. But at a certain point, if one wants some deeper intimacy with life, then there has to be a turning around of, instead of seeking our wholeness, our healing, our awakening, our fulfillment or our peace out there somewhere, we turn around fully and meet ourselves and see what it is that we believe about ourselves that is so flawed. The love affair with one's deepest self and the love affair with oneself as one is the profound love affair. Never mind the love affairs with other people. This is the most significant love affair, because if we can root that love for ourselves in a deeper and deeper unconditionality, then we're really onto something. Because then we start accepting without resignation these wounds, these flaws, these idiosyncrasies, these nuances of us. You see, in many ways, we're trying to iron out the things that make us unique. And that's always worth considering. It's the things that, it's sort of almost the broken bits, the wounds, the gnarly bits that we find so painful, because we convert that into a thought that it shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't be like this. And so we carry those around, thinking subtly or deeply or unconsciously that if we get rid of those, then it will improve us. But actually it's those very knots and gnarls and wounds that create the uniqueness that we are, if we could but accept them. This is profound. A profound return to the wholeness that we arrived in this existence with or as. To love oneself fully is to not reject any part of ourselves. To love ourselves fully is to not reject any part of ourselves, and to see when we start that momentum again, that cycle, here we go, here I go again, falling out of love with myself because I believe that I shouldn't be like I am. And this means embracing the depth of us. It means embracing the sensitivity of us. It means embracing when we feel vulnerable, tender. It's not turning it into thoughts. The raw feeling of us. If we could but embrace the raw feeling of ourselves without turning it into a thought, and if we could but learn to bear the unbearable within, within ourselves, to bear it, then again, we are deepening. And it's this deepening that that brings the maturity of us, a deepening into a profound intimacy, which is self-acceptance with our experience without endlessly seeking to change it. Seek to change nothing. Let things change by themselves through the love that you offer them. This is how it works. You love yourself, you love your wounds, you love your vulnerability, your tenderness. And in that loving, something releases and something softens and something opens. If you have this invitation, you'll hold this invitation and you go with it and stay rooted in an awareness, not drifting into interpretation and emotionality. This is not cold. This is actually compassionate awareness that we've turned towards our inner landscape, towards our inner world, and to stay aware. This really is a beautiful shift, instead of this endless trying to fix ourselves or trying to improve ourselves. Let that run its course. It will. Eventually, the self is surrendered one way or another. When we leave this place, this landscape, this world, the self is surrendered. Body is surrendered, self is surrendered. That's why when spiritual teachers talk of an awakening or a deepening, they talk in a similar way, as though a death has come, because there are the potential for two deaths in this life. One is the death as we finally depart and body goes and self goes, but the other one is a death of the self in awakening. Of course, one's still functioning. One still, still has a body and still has an ego, still has a self. There's still movement. There's still a conversation going on here. And yet something has deepened. There's no more rejection of self. There's no more rejection of this as being flawed or less than. Those feelings, those drivers, they are a whisper on the wind now. They don't have any traction in this experience. Yes, sometimes they come, like a cloud sometimes comes. But a cloud, comes and goes through the sky. And we've fallen into the unconditional nature of ourselves as sky. So that's all I'll say. Blessings.